Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday, the 23rd day of June 2025. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. I hope your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Blessings upon those that work in the area of health to help save lives, to help people prolong life, to help people live comfortable and better lives, and those that are first responders to help save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children, victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of pornography, child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and all those perverts that create the demands that cause these industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So we've been highlighting Knick players that are going to or could play big roles coming into the 25-26 season. The Knicks at this particular moment, in my view, have no particular specific need in terms of position. I've had people come on my channel and say, we need a 4, or we need a new shooting guard, or no, they don't need any of that. They got everything they need right now. And they just come out of the Eastern Conference Finals, and continuity and health are the most important things. But that being said, if the Knicks are going to add players, it's not based on position or need. It's based almost entirely on fit. Okay? So the Knicks right now have a long-term sustainable winning culture. They have some continuity. They have talent. They have all-NBA talent on their team. They have shown the ability, at least at times, to play high-level defense. So these areas, any player, point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, that can meet requirements in these areas in terms of basketball IQ, defense, availability. These type of players would be of interest. Now, coming into this season, I really am doubtful that the Knicks would pick any player in the first round for a couple of reasons. First, I alluded to, they don't really have a lot of needs right now in terms of any specific area. Number two is they want to save money, and so they don't want to pay first round money if they can get away with it. The Don is notoriously cheap. He's the guy that looks into the secondhand stores to see what kind of deal he could find. He's the guy that looks into consignment shops. He's the guy that's looking at Goodwill to see if he can find some clothes that are well below, that are well above value. That's what we're doing. Bargain hunting. They've been doing it for a few years, but people get all star-crushed with the draft and start over getting excited and trying to think they're going to move up to get this or do that. No. So he's looking for bargains. That's what he's looking for. Therefore, you're going to find those bargains in 3 areas. The second round is the first one. You're looking in the second round. Undrafted free agents is another one. Knicks are very good at finding undrafted free agents. Very good. And, of course, people that are from overseas that may not get drafted either. Okay, or he may be overseas and get drafted in the second round. Now, I've looked at Tankathon, and I looked at the mock draft in Tankathon, and I'm sticking to the second round. Now, keep in mind a couple of things. Please listen carefully, because some of you are going to come on my channel with all these names that the Knicks would not be interested in, and I don't want to talk about, okay? And let's start right off the bat. If I don't include a player in the list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players I'm going to talk about, if I don't include them, listen to me carefully, all you knuckleheads out here that want to push names that I never heard of and don't care to hear about. The reason I would exclude players is either they don't play defense. I don't care how good they shoot from three in college. If they don't play defense, we don't want to talk about it. No defense, no bueno. Okay? Let me say that again. No defense, no bueno. I don't care how good they shoot. No defense, no bueno. Number two, they're too old. This would be players usually between 22, 23, 24. Too old. Why? No upside. You want upside, which means they can get better. If you get a guy whose upside is limited, that could still work if they have enough skill on the NBA level to give you to help your team win. So, if you get a guy that's older and he has no or very little upside, he needs to be able to help you win. Okay, he has to be able to help you win. Now, most of the guys that don't make the NBA, that's a big problem. In other words, they can get drafted, but their upside is limited, so that they may not get to be good enough to help you win games. Okay, so that's big. That's big. Now, there was some players, for example, I'm looking for a guy, Cameron Johnson. Yes, so Cameron Johnson came into the league. I think he played 4 years at North Carolina. He's now 29. And he came into the league, when he came into the league and he was drafted in 2019, at that time, he was 23. But very solid player. Not a lot of upside, but what he has is there. He can play defense. He's a solid shooter. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. High IQ player, plays the right way. So you know what you're going to get from him. He's never going to be an all-star or a superstar or all-NBA. He's not that. He's not going to get any better than he is right now. But you can slot him in as Phoenix did, as Brooklyn did. You could slot him in and you know what you're going to get from him. A solid shooter, a solid defender, solid defender, not rebounder, but solid defender, somebody that's going to get you hit an open three and is not going to make a lot of mistakes. Okay? That's a solid player in the league. That's why he's still here. Okay? But let me just also say, he's the exception. Many people come at me with exceptions as if it's the rule. Cam Johnson is the exception. There's not a lot of guys like that come in at age 23 and is so solid he can stick in the NBA, can play defense, can hit a jump shot, high IQ, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. There's not a lot of those. Okay, they're rare, and Cam Johnson's a rare. Okay, there's not a lot of guys like that. So if you can find one, you can get him in the second round or as an undrafted free agent. You can also not have to pay him a ton of money. All right, and so it's not going to be too much stress on your salary cap, which is a huge consideration today. So that's an example. So if I don't pick a guy, if you say, well, what happened to this guy or what happened to that guy? If you don't see me pick him, it's either he's too old or he doesn't play defense or I don't think he's an NBA player. Listen, there are right now 59 slots, right? Or 58 because the Knicks forfeited one of their second round picks. But so 58 positions being drafted, possibly. And about half of them ain't going to make it. More than half ain't going to make it. Okay? In a rich draft, you might get about 70% of the guys that get drafted. Maybe 30 of them make it. Maybe 40 of them. But that's rare. Most of them won't make it. And that doesn't mean they can't play basketball. It just means they're not one of the 400 best in the world, which is what you got to be to play in the NBA. Okay? It's no slight on them. It doesn't mean they can't play the game. It just means that the level that they need to play at to survive in this league is not there. And that's the majority. So if I don't pick them, they either don't play defense, they're too old, or I don't consider them an NBA talent. So, for example, Eric Dixon from Villanova, power forward, 6'9", 259. I don't think he's an NBA player. See? So, and he doesn't play defense. So don't mention him to me. He doesn't play defense, and I don't think he's an NBA player. You might think so. I'm doing the video. To me, he's not an NBA player. Okay? And there's a number of guys like that. A number of them. Like I said, there's no slight on these guys. It's just we're talking about picking a player for the New York Knicks that's going to help us win. Okay? Now, help us what? Win. Now, that's because these guys that I'm getting ready to tell you about could be available. Don't mean the Knicks are going to get them, right? Because they're good. They could even move up into the second round. And every year you have that. You have guys that slide into the second round that people weren't projecting to slide in the second round. And then you got guys that are projected to be in the second round that perform so well in the combine, in individual workouts, and individual interviews that their stock goes up and they're no longer second round picks. They become first round picks, right? So every year there's those players. So I can't, but you can't never predict. There's some things you never know until the draft. Okay, there's some things you don't know until the draft. One of the biggest things that's hard to tell is availability. So a guy could have the ability to play basketball at the NBA level, but he might not have the availability to be consistently able to play because of injuries. Okay? Hard to tell. You can get a guy, Justice Winslow, 6'6", solid body, 220 pounds of muscle, looked like a good pick for the Miami Heat when he came out. I think it was 2015. Most of his career was hurt. Most of his career was sidelined because of injuries. Okay, versus Mikal Bridges, the stream beam, who ain't missed a game. Okay, so it's hard to tell. Sometimes you could look at a Mikal Bridges and see he ain't missed a game in high school, he ain't missed a game in college, he never had any major surgery, and you can pretty much say, okay, with that guy, he might be available, and obviously he is. But that's a hard one to gauge. If a guy has had several surgeries before he's even finished his college career, it's a risk. It's a risk. It's not necessarily mean he won't be able to play, but it's a risk. And this is what we have to understand. When we're talking about, it's almost like a slave trade, to be quite honest with you. I know people don't like to think about it like that, but you're measuring height, you're measuring speed, you're measuring quickness, you're measuring strength, right? And what's going on is NBA teams are looking to make an investment because that's what each of these players represent, an investment in winning for your organization. So you want to say, what's a solid investment? What's a risky investment? What's a poor investment? So Kyrie Irving, I think he broke his foot in his freshman year at Duke and missed most of that season. That was a risky investment with high upside potential, right? And obviously he's turned out. Now, unfortunately, he messed his knee up this year, but for his career, he has been a player that has won, and he's obviously won a championship with Cleveland and LeBron. So he has won a chip. So it's not like, he was a risky investment, but he panned out, at least for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He planned out, right? And that was their number one pick. Versus you pick a guy and, Danny Manning, a player of the year out of Kansas, picked by the Clippers. First year, wrecks his knee. Never the same. Okay? Who knew, right? So it's hard sometimes to gauge, but that's another part. You're trying to mitigate risk in your investments. If you're an investor, which any NBA team is, there's 30 investors here, they're trying to maximize upside, minimize risk in their investment, right? And that's what every team is trying to do. The best talent evaluators are excellent at doing this. Walt Perrin is on the Knicks, and we're glad of that because he has proven he knows what the hell he's talking about with respect to scouting talent. Okay. Now, That being said, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. Really, if we're playing spades, I got 4 in the possible. The first one on my list is Drake Powell. Drake Powell out of North Carolina. He's 6'6", call him 6'7", 200 pounds. He's about 20 years old. He's got a 7-foot wingspan. He is a defensive ace, really. He shoots at college level 38% from 3. He shoots 65% from the line, so he's not a great free throw shooter, but he is solid. He just come off, I believe, his freshman season. So he is really, I like him because of 2 reasons. Number one, he's 19, going to be 20 years old. He's going to be 20 years old in September. He's got upside. He's going to fill in more. His body's going to fill in more. Right now, he's 6'7", 200. He's not going to remain that. He's going to fill in. The 7-foot wingspan, he plays very high-level defense. He's ready for the NBA defensively, in my view. Enough athleticism to play in the NBA. Coming out of North Carolina, and this is another thing I pay attention to. What program are these guys coming out of? There are some programs that prepare players better for the NBA than others. I am known to be touting Leonard Hamilton. He's no longer the coach at Florida State, but one thing I liked about him is when a player comes out of his Florida State program, they play NBA level defense, and they know how to play defense, okay? And usually they're big time players. So, and I can name a lot of them, but that's what I'm saying. Or if a guy comes out of Calipari, either at Kentucky or at now Arkansas, they usually can play. Calipari don't recruit nobody that can't play, and he teaches them how to play the right way. So there's certain programs. Kelvin Sampson at Houston. There's certain programs that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Bob Huggins, that used to be at West Virginia. You want to look at guys that come out of a solid program that A, just know how to play basketball the right way, and B, can play some defense, okay? And so this guy comes out of North Carolina. The coach used to be a Knick. He was a guy that was a former New York Knick. And he, what's the guy's name? Hubert Davis. Yeah, lost him for a second. Hubert Davis. Hubert Davis played at North Carolina, went to the Knicks, played for the Knicks, knows how to play basketball the right way, knows how to coach basketball the right way. So this guy, Drake Powell, is coming out of that program. And that pedigree comes from Roy Williams. And of course, it goes all the way back to Dean Smith, who, taught players how to play basketball the right way on a high level. So Drake Powell is coming out of a very solid program. He's going to be 20 years old in September, so he's got upside. 7-foot wingspan, already plays NBA level defense. He's ranked right now at 33. Let me just see. Tankathon got him going at 32 to Boston. Okay. And I think that's a right for him. So if the Knicks were to get him, they would have to buy a second-round pick or trade up in the second round to get him, depending on how much that will cost. And that's the function here. The Don ain't going to pay a premium for nobody. He's not. So if moving up is going to cost him too much, he ain't going to do it. Okay. A guy like Powell, though, at this age, with this skill set, at this size, would be a guy that would be developed in the G League for a year. And then in his second season, under a coach that's playing a 10-man rotation, he would be given a shot to break into the rotation to see how, if he's ready. And that's something that's hard to tell at this stage. You would know after his rookie year and maybe summer league and then, some G League stuff. So, but I like his upside. I like his potential. To me, if I'm going to name, he reminds me of Mikal Bridges. He's a more muscular version of Mikal Bridges. Road runner type guy, 7-foot wingspan, plays defense, hits big shots, plays the right way, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I like it. Okay, I like Drake Powell. I don't expect him to be available for the Knicks because I think he might be too expensive, and he may even move up into the first round. But right now, Tankathon got him listed as the 32nd pick going to Boston. I like him, and I think that's the right space for him. I think that's the right space for him. So that's the first guy. Second guy, Adutero out of Arkansas. Again, coming out of Arkansas, he's played for John Calipari, so he knows how to play, right? 7 foot wingspan, 6'8", 6'8", 7 foot wingspan, 218 pounds. Solid. OG Anunoby lookalike. Okay, OG Anunoby lookalike. Can't shoot that well. Not that good a shooter. Tremendous demon on defense though. Okay, great motor. Can run the floor. Can he develop an NBA shot? Possibly. These are the things we don't know. OG come out of Indiana, wasn't known as a great shooter, but became now one of the best corner shooters in the league. So one thing I can tell about this kid is he's going to work hard at that, okay? And we'll have to see. But he would come into the NBA body ready, athletic ready, defensive ready. Okay, he will come into the NBA ready in all those areas. Not as great a handle, turnover a little bit, not bad, but turnover a little bit. So, he'd be a typical rookie, but I feel like he's an NBA player. He can already play high level defense at the NBA level, and he's got the size at 6'7", 218. Our guy OG is 6'7", about 220, 230. So, but OG's more mature. Yeah, his body's more mature. This kid right here, Adutero, is 21. He's just turned 21 years old. So I like him. I like him. Again, a second round pick, if he's not going to cost too much and you want to develop somebody that can play on the wing defensively, I like this kid. I think he's got a nice upside. Again, and he's coming out of a good program at Arkansas under John Calipari. He grew up apparently his hometown's Pittsburgh, PA, so he's a Pennsylvania kid. But that's another solid pick to me. NBA player, NBA body, defensive prepared. He's prepared defensively. Come out of a good program, which means he knows how to play. Yeah, I like him. Adutero. Then there's Bogo Markovic. Now he's a bit of a risk, Bogo Markovic, and to me, all international players are a bit more risky because I don't consider the international game as, it's come a long way, but it ain't the NBA. Okay, so I don't place a heavy emphasis on ability to play internationally. What I am looking at though is the same basics. Can he play in the NBA at all? Does he have NBA ability? Can he play defense? How's his IQ? Okay? These are the things I'm looking at. Now, this kid defensively is iffy. Not bad from the highlights I saw. But I think if he's going to put effort on that side, and you come into the Knicks, even if you're playing for Taylor Jenkins, you're going to have to. I think he's 6'11". He's 6'11". Let me mention that. He's 6'11" with a 7 foot wingspan. Shoots the ball very well. 39% from three, which you get that from a lot of players. And he's from Serbia. And Serbia is like the equivalent of a high level college program because you get a lot of great players coming out of Serbia, solid players coming out of Serbia into the NBA. So I like him as a prospect for a couple of seasons from now. So the Knicks were to get him, he's 19. He'll be 20 in a couple of days. In July 12th, he's going to turn 20. So he's a young boy. I think 2 years of G League and development would be good for him. 6'11". He does handle the ball pretty good for somebody 6'11", which is, again, not surprising coming out of Serbia. So he could shoot the ball on an NBA level from three, or at least develop that. I think he can develop defensively from at 6'11", and he would not be a 5, he'd be a 4. Okay, 6'11", he'd be a 4, and he can develop. I feel like he has upside. That's what I'm looking for. He has the upside to be able to play in the league if given a couple of seasons. And again, that would also depend. I think he's going to be available. Tankathon, where does Tankathon have him? Tankathon has him at 35. to Philly. I think he slips. Because everybody in the NBA, you see, this is the thing about parity. Everybody's looking for the same thing. Most of the teams are smart. They know what they're doing, and everybody's looking for bargains in the second round. Everybody is. Okay. I just happen to believe that Don is a master at it. Okay. I don't know if this guy's going to be picked by 35. I'd be surprised. I think he slips into the 40 range. Okay. And again, it depends. Again, we don't know what his combine looks like, individual workouts, individual interviews. Where is his head? He's a young boy, so he's 20, going to be 20 soon. So we'll see. But I like the upside at 6'11" and just going to turn 20 in a few weeks, and can run the floor very well. Can handle the ball on a break very well, and as far as defensive potential is there. I think he's an NBA player, and so that's another guy. It depends on how much he costs. Again, the value is in how little you pay. Okay, so once there was a leather coat we found in a Goodwill in Connecticut that was worth at least $400, genuine leather. And I think it was on the sale for $50 or something. See, that's what kind of, you're looking for value. That's depending on how much this kid costs. If we can get him, we'll see. I think he slips past 35. I think he comes down a little bit. Unless a team is, like I said, he wows somebody and they're very high on him, that's possible. So you never know, because you don't know what beauty, as it is said very well, is in the eye of the beholder. Right, so somebody might look at him and say, "Oh my gosh, we got the second coming of Vlade Divac," or we want this kid. Somebody might look at him and say that and pick him higher. That does happen too. So I like him though. If we can get him at the right price, that's another guy that we can look at. So we're talking about Drake Powell, Adutero, and Bogo Markovic. Okay, next guy, Tyrese Proctor. Tyrese Proctor, coming out of Duke. He's listed as a point guard, but he could play the two, in my view. 6'6", 180 pounds. He's 21 years old. Solid. Smart. Very rarely makes a mistake on the floor. Okay? Very smart, very solid. Coming out of Duke, knows how to play the right way. Knows how to move without the basketball, knows how to shoot. I mean, again, shooting is not the end-all, be-all, as I mentioned, but it's nice if you got it. So he shoots 41% from three at Duke. Very solid. And he played with Cooper Flagg. And the thing is, you could look at that in two ways. Where he played with one of the best college ball players in America, one of the highest level rated talents in America, in Cooper Flagg. Yes, but can he play with Cooper Flagg? And he did very well. And he worked with Cooper Flagg and worked off ball with him very well. Okay, so I like that. He played almost 30 minutes a game for 38 games, which is an indication, he's one of these wiry guys like Mikal Bridges that don't get hurt a lot. But, he's not going to wow you with his physicality, but he's going to be around. Like, he should be able to play. I like a solid player that can play solid NBA defense. Now, his defense doesn't jump out at you. His IQ does. Defensively, he reminds me of Dante DiVincenzo. That's what he reminds me of. Heady, plays the passing lanes, reads what the offense is doing, and knows how to be in the right place at the right time. That's the type of guy we're talking about here. I don't know where he would play, okay, on the Knicks, because the Knicks are pretty stacked. He wouldn't be breaking the rotation this year unless he just wows them, in camp. And that's possible. Anything is possible. But I just think if you get this guy, you got a winning ball player, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, can learn the NBA game quickly, can shoot the rock, play good defense, and be a solid NBA pro. Okay, he really could. Like I said, he reminds me a lot of Dante defensively. Offensively, too, because he can hit big threes. Nice playmaking. He's not Tiny Archibald, right? Or Chris Paul, but who is, right? He's heady enough though to make a very solid playmaker. Okay, So his Tyrese Proctor out of Duke University, I like him. So we're talking about Drake Powell out of North Carolina, Adu Tero out of Arkansas, Bogo Markovic out of Serbia, and Tyrese Proctor out of Duke. He reminds me again. There's two players remind me of DiVincenzo and Landry Shamet. He has a very heady game that he can shoot like Landry Shamet. I don't know if his defense is on Shamet level, because Shamet plays really daggone good defense. But he got the potential to be there. I think he can be there, honestly. He's got enough want to make it happen. Put it that way. I'll put it that way. So that's another guy. And then, so I said I have 4 books and a possible. The possible is Joanie Broom out of Auburn. He's a possible. He's old. He's old, and I'm looking at him with his old. He's going to be 23 years old in a couple of weeks. He started off at Morehead State and then entered the portal and transferred to Auburn. Okay, big time program is Auburn. They produce some really, big time ball players at Auburn. So comes from Plant City, Florida kid, 6'11", 7-foot wingspan. Okay, positives, strength. He's 7 feet, 250 pounds. He's strong. He's a strong kid. Strong enough to play in the NBA. Okay, he does have the strength to play in the NBA. But there's 2 things you're looking at with a 7-footer. Strength and ability to cover ground. That's questionable. Ability to cover ground is hard to see at the big-time college level, because you're usually playing in some sort of zone, and you can hide a lack of lateral ability. I don't know. He doesn't appear to me to have it. That's a weakness. And also, even though he is a big, strong boy, he's 23 years old, 250 pounds, he used his strength to overwhelm players in college. That will not work in the NBA. Okay? There's guys just as strong as you when you come in there. So you can't overwhelm people. You can overwhelm mismatches, and this is where I think Broom would excel. If you get him in a mismatch with a smaller guy, he's very good at finishing. Okay? Although we'd have to find out if he could do it at the NBA level, because the speed of the game is much quicker than college, right? You can only see that if he plays. So he's a possible. A guy that may not get drafted, that maybe the Don can pick up as an undrafted free agent. A guy that's going to battle whoever's playing 4s or 5s for the Knicks, both in G League and on the team, for a spot. He's going to be hungry. He's going to come cheap. Okay? He's not going to cost you a lot of money, especially if you can get him undrafted. He's not going to cost you a lot of money. So 23 years old is a little old. Not a lot of upside there. Okay? Not a lot of upside. He's pretty much where he's at. But where he's at could be good enough to be a backup, end of the bench type big that you can have. Motor-wise, I like his motor. That's a positive. Like his motor. It's hard to tell defensively, again, because the college game is different than the NBA. His feet seem a little slow to me laterally, which is, again, okay. Think Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson covers a lot of ground in a very quick time, right? He's got a 7-foot wingspan. So Mitchell Robinson can be guarding a guy under the paint and get out to the 3-point line and stop a shot from even going up or block it or take it, right? Because he's got the speed and the quickness at 7 feet tall. This guy is not Mitchell Robinson, okay? He's not. He's strong, though. Big, strong boy, okay? I don't know what his IQ is, because he uses his strength to overwhelm people in college. And he did. He used his strength smart. I mean, why wouldn't he, right? He got it. So he used his strength to overwhelm people in college. But he's iffy. Okay, he's iffy. We'd have to find out, because to play the 5 in the league, it takes a couple of years to learn the 5. Now, I'm listing him as a 5, but somebody might see him as a 4. Because he has a, statistically, his shot doesn't look good. Look at statistically, 28% from 3, right? On 3 attempts a game. So it doesn't look very strong. But his form looks good. The form looks very good. That doesn't always translate, though. But if it does, if he does come to the NBA and develops into an average 35% NBA shooter, he could probably play the 4 as well. So that's a possible. So we got 4 and a possible. Drake Powell, Adutero, Bogo Markovic, Tyrese Proctor. These are my 4 books for the second round. The possible is Joanie, I think it's Joanie Broom. Let me say his name right. Poor kid, man. I'm messing up his name. Joanie, I think it's Joanie Broom, something like that. Anyway, Broom, out of Auburn, 6'11", 250, 7-foot wingspan, power forward center. They have him listed in Tankathon, I think, too high. He's listed at 37 to Detroit. I will say, he's a Detroit type player. I think he is. Physical, rough, physical type guy. Your beef stew type dude. He does fit that mold, I have to say. So, yeah, that seems like a good fit. Although I think, again, I'm going to say, I think 37 is too high for him. I think 37 is too high. Knowing the Don would not pick him at 37. I don't think he would. So, yeah. So, again, we're looking for budget-friendly, cheap talent. We're looking to get a deal here, or a steal if we can. For example, Hoop Porty was a steal. Okay? Hoop Porty, they got him last year, right? They got him last year, and where was he drafted? I want to say he was 55th last year. That's a steal, right? Because you got a guy that could at least spot start for you. He was drafted 58th out of Melbourne. Again, it's because of his injury history. But if you watch the Knicks this year, he can play in the NBA. Is he available? I don't know. He missed the end part of the season with a meniscus, another injury. That's red flags. But that's what you're looking for, a steal. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a steal. So we'll see. I mean, I think Broom might be one, okay? And any of these guys has potential to be a steal. It depends on how much they cost you. So if Drake Powell is drafted 32nd, that's not a steal, right? You kind of say, okay, he's borderline first rounder, right? So that's not really a steal. If you can get him at 36, 30, 40, that's what we're talking about, a steal. Again, don't come at me today mentioning guys that you saw play at Summer League once, or, that may not even be able to play in the NBA and definitely can't play defense just because they can shoot well. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay? Please, I'm saying, don't do that. Some of you knuckleheads going to do it anyway. But don't do it. So, the draft is Wednesday. Let's see what the Don does. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of undrafted free agents invited to the Knicks camp, because that's the way it is every year. Any of these guys, though, if he can get any of these guys cheap, I think we got something. I like all of these guys. I think we would have something. Forget the first round. He's not going to pay first round money this year. Okay. Usually, honestly, a lot of these guys in the first round aren't worth that money, in my view. A lot of these guys aren't worth that money. And then, of course, you have your lottery picks, which, you're going to get busts in the lottery. That's the risk. But you're going to get some slam dunks. Like Cooper Flagg looks like a slam dunk, right? I mean, that's Ace Bailey. You're going to get some play. But we're not talking about that. The Knicks are not going to be drafting that high, and they're not trading up for that. So why look at it? It's not even something we're going to be interested in. So we're looking at guys that might slip into the second round, guys that are listed, in the bottom of the first that might slip, and we're looking for steals in the second round or undrafted free agents. So anyway, please enjoy your Monday. Shalom.